Hi friends and welcome back to my channel. Let's have a look at my March TBR. So, March is an exciting month. Why is that? Well, it's because my favorite readathon is back. If you don't know, in March the Tropeical Readathon is happening and it's one of my absolute favorite readathons. Ever since I started BookTube, I have participated in every single instance of this readathon. If you don't know, the Tropeical Readathon is a month-long readathon inspired by tropes we find in books. You compete in teams. There are teams for different genres. We have a romance team, fantasy, sci-fi, non-fiction, your typical genres. And then there are a total of 13 common prompts, meaning 13 prompts that everyone can do that are like typical tropes that you might find in books, with alternative prompts in case you don't find anything that matches that trope. And also team challenges and team books. The creators of this readathon put so much heart and work into it, and it's equally as incredible each time. And every time I participate, I'm overly ambitious. I put like 18 books on my TBR. Another fun thing is that every time I participated, I have joined a different team. So, since this will be my, I believe, 6th time participating in the Tropeical Readathon, I have only one team left that I have not been a part of so far. So, for this round of the Tropeical Readathon, I am joining Team Non-Fiction and Poetry. Initially, for March, I had planned to also, on top of the Tropeical Readathon, play my TBR game where I randomize books from various categories, but I've just recovered from being sick. I never get sick, especially not like fevers and stuff, but I got sick in February, so I'm cutting myself some slack and am not doing my TBR game. But there will still be plenty to read because of the Tropeical Readathon, so probably for the best. One thing I am doing though is I'm still trying to keep up with my year-long challenges, and so far it's going pretty well, I must say. Let's just get started. I'm gonna chat about the books I hope to read in March, and then we're gonna chat about my TBR for the Tropeical Readathon. Disclaimer already, I won't be reading all of the books I'm gonna mention. I will talk about like my priority books, the one I will aim to read. First year-long challenge I need to keep up with is the Globetrotterathon hosted by Kevin. In March we're reading a book that somehow relates to North America, which is probably very simple because that will probably be the majority of this TBR. The book I plan on counting for this one is Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I will talk more about why later on. Second year-long challenge I'm doing is Buzzwordathon, and the buzzword for March is secret, and the only book I think I have on my physical TBR with the word secret in it is none other than The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I will talk more about this book soon as well, since I've managed to squeeze it into the Tropeical Readathon TBR. 600 pages of dark academia, here I come. And then for my 12 books recommended by 12 friends, where I try to read a book a month, I will read The Book Eaters by Sun Yedin. Those are like the books I need to read to complete my year-long challenges, or the things I try to focus on. I also have this thing where I try to read at least one non-fiction a month. I'm fairly certain I'm up to speed with my non-fictions. I think I've read like 2 or 3 this far this year, so I'm alright with not prioritizing it for this month in March. Actually, scratch that. Obviously I'm part of the non-fiction and poetry team, meaning I will actually be reading a non-fiction. See how that worked out. Let's just start chatting about the Tropeical Readathon TBR. All links, information, all of that about the readathon will be in the description. Please check this readathon out, it's so much fun. Let's start by looking at the team prompts and the team book for the Tropeical Readathon. With the Tropeical Readathon, there's always a team book for each team, and there's always 2 options for the book. One newer book and one older one. The team book I will be reading is Turtle Under Ice by Julia del Rosario. This is a book that's written in verse, and we're following a girl whose sister has gone missing, and it's apparently a story that tackles grief, guilt, and identity. And I don't know more about that, but it is available as an ebook on Scribd, so that is perfect. We then have 2 theme-specific prompts. The first one is to read a book with a diary/journal trope, meaning that it's written like a diary or something. And this is where Perks of Being a Wallflower comes in. Because apparently, I didn't know that, but apparently this one is written as journal entries. I remember that I saw the movie when it was released, whenever that was, and I did enjoy it. I think I've had this book on like every single Tropeical Readathon TBR, because it's always one of the recommendations for coming of age books. It will be interesting to read this one. I just remember that it's about Charlie, who is sort of a loner, or he struggles perhaps with some mental issues or something, I don't quite remember. And it's just about being teenagers in high school and how that can suck and how that can be great. He's shy, introspective, intelligent beyond his years, and yet socially awkward. He's a wallflower caught between trying to live his life and trying to run from it. So that's the first official prompt. Second theme prompt is to read a book written by an actor. For this one I have decided that I will listen to My Body by Emily Ratajkowski. Not certain if that's how you pronounce it, but close enough. Emily is an actor and a model. I haven't seen anything with her in it. I remember this book being quite hyped when it was released. I've always been interested in it, so I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for me to pick this one up. This book is a memoir that deals with topics such as feminism, sexuality, how men treat women, and so on. Quite a short audiobook as well, around 5 hours. Is it Emily that narrates it? Yeah, it looks like it's Emily that narrates the book as well, which I usually prefer when it comes to memoirs. So those are my theme-specific books and prompts. Let's now chat about some books I'm certain I will read for the various tropes. For the prompt of reading a book featuring a love triangle, the book I plan on listening to is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a book that I think sort of had a comeback last year. From what I understand, it's a love triangle in the way that we're following a woman who has a husband, but one day the husband disappears, and then we do like a time skip and we're watching this woman try and rebuild her life, and she starts to fall in love with a new guy, only for her husband to suddenly appear again. And also apparently it's getting a TV adaptation like really soon, which I didn't know about. So yeah, I'm glad I stumbled upon this. I will be listening to this one as an audiobook via Scribd, because I realized I needed some more audiobooks on this list. We then have the trope of reading a dark academia. And as I mentioned, the one I plan on reading is The Secret History. What is this about now? It's about a group of clever, eccentric misfits that are under the influence of their charismatic classics professor. And that's all I know. I know nothing about this one, other than the fact that it's incredibly floppy. Since this one is both for Buzzwordathon and Tropeical Readathon, I feel even more motivated to get to this one. Mixed media is a very classical prompt in the Tropeical Readathon, and for basically all of the TBRs I have had either one of the books from the Illumine Files series, so why not continue on this trend? I finally read Gemina last year after putting it on like 5 Tropeical Readathon TBRs. So let's continue with the series and let's put Obsidio, the 3rd book in the Illumine Files series by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I plan on purchasing this book very soon, so I will have it in March and I will read it. The Illumine Files series is a young adult science fiction series that is mixed media because it's a story told through chat logs, surveillance footage, documentation, transcripts, random pages. Like, it looks very cool. So even though those books are chunkers and usually around 600 pages, they are fairly quick reads because it's not like 1 page equals 1 page of text. Usually it's like a 3rd page of text and some illustrations and stuff. Sticking to tradition and reading another Illumine Files book for mixed media. Shall we see on how many TBRs Obsidio will be on before I actually read it? Make your guess. Next up, we have the prompt of reading a book with bookish themes in it. And for this one, I will be reading The Book Eaters. It has book in the title. I am assuming that books are somehow featured in the story. If not, please tell me now. Like, there must be books in the story, right? We are following book eater families, the last of their lines. They exist on the fringes of society, and subsist on a diet of stories and legends. Families eating books should be enough to count as book-themed book, right? I'm just glad that I'm managing to squeeze in an Illumicrate book on this TBR because I'm so bad at reading my Illumicrate books. It's fairly short as well, not even 300 pages. The final prompt that I will aim to complete is the retelling prompt, but actually I won't be aiming for the retelling. I will be reading the alternative prompt, which is to read a book with a TV or movie adaptation. And the one I want to read for this one is Britt-Marie Was Here by Fredrik Backman. In February I read My Grandmother Says That She's Sorry and Goodbye, or whatever that one's called. Basically in February I read another Fredrik Backman book that features the character of Britt-Marie, and after Backman had written that one, he decided to write Britt-Marie Was Here. And I'm still working through Backman's bibliography. I'm doing quite well. He's my favorite author, so this one is up next and I'm excited about it. This has a Swedish movie and there is a Swedish movie based on this book. So once I've read this one, I might actually watch the movie as well. In this book we're following Britt-Marie. She has left a 40-year-old relationship and a life as a housewife, and somehow she becomes the local junior league's football coach or something like that. I'm excited about this one. I really want to continue reading Backman. It made me so happy when I read it in February. Those are like my definite TBR, I guess. 8 books on my definite TBR. I need to fact check this later on, but sure, let's stick with that. Let's now talk about the other prompts in the Tropeical Readathon and what I might read for those. As I said, disclaimer, I'm not gonna read all of these books, but it's just fun to have a plan. First, we have the very classical absent or dead parents trope. And for this one, I might pick up Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. You've seen this on multiple TBRs as well. This isn't even my book. I've had it for like 3 years now or something. It belongs to my friend. I've never read Percy Jackson before, but I want to, and I want to return this book to my friend. I say this every TBR, but that is true. I do want to return this book. I know that both of Percy Jackson's parents are alive. I've seen the first movie, the one with Logan Lerman. Oh, I have 2 Logan Lerman movie books here. That's pretty fun. Kind of a theme, right? I've seen the movie and his parents are not dead, but his dad is absent, so that should count, I will say. This is a middle grade about Percy Jackson, who learns that he is a half-god, so he goes to this like half-god camp and meets new friends. Can you tell I haven't read these books? I'm sure everyone knows what this is about. Next prompt / trope is boarding school, and my option for this one is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is a TBR wet on my shelves by now, and I should get to it. Ishiguro imagines the lives of a group of students growing up in a darkly skewed version of contemporary England. A story of love, friendship and memory, Never Let Me Go is charged throughout with a sense of the fragility of life. Next trope is holiday, where you can either read a book that relates to like the holidays, like Christmas. I'm not gonna be reading a Christmas book in March. So instead I'm going with the definition of holiday being a vacation, and my option for this one is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Right? I've only read one Emily Henry book so far, which was Beach Read. Wasn't that impressed, only gave it 3 stars, but I still want to read her other books, especially this one and Book Lovers, so I'm working on that. This is actually my second time borrowing this book from the library. I had to return it before I was able to read it, so this is the second try. This book is about Poppy and Alex. They are best friends and every summer they go on a vacation together, until 2 years ago when they ruined everything. When someone asks when Poppy was last truly happy, she knows it was on that ill-fated trip with Alex. So she decides to convince him to take one more vacation together. Miraculously he agrees. Now she has a week to fix everything. If only she can get around the one truth that has always stood in the middle of their seemingly perfect relationship. What could possibly go wrong? I think this is a very friends to lovers sort of story. I am interested to see how this one will compare to Beach Read for me. It's possible that this one might be more up my alley. We're gonna have to see. Next prompt is Blast from the Past. I always struggle a whole lot with this one. My option for this one is The Only Good Indians, mainly just because of the recommendations that the Tropical Readathon team provides. On the website where they have all of the information about the readathon, they also have a specific page with a bunch of recommendations for all of the different prompts, both team prompts and common challenges. So check that out if you need some ideas. From that list, I know that this one works. I think it's like a thriller/horror type of story, and I've probably had this book on multiple old Tropical Readathon TBRs as well. Next up is a prompt I probably won't fulfill, but I still have an option for it. I'm talking about the apocalyptic/dystopia prompt, and my option for this one is Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. This is the third and final book in the Broken Earth trilogy. I read the first and second book back in 2021, and I wasn't really the biggest fan of them. I thought the concept was cool and the idea, and the twist in the first one really impressed me. Didn't care as much for the second book, but I still have the third book and I still want to finish this series. So even though I'm not a fan of the series, I can still appreciate it. And perhaps I just read those books at the wrong time, and reading the third book now will greatly impress me. I don't know. I don't think there's much I can say about this book in particular without spoiling anything, but the series as a whole, it's basically about constant apocalypses. And we're following a mom whose child got kidnapped, so she's trying to find her kid again. And then we're following some other characters as well. Next prompt is Found Family. And for this one, if I were to fulfill this one, I would be reading The Long Way to a Small and Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This is another one of the recommendations from the Tropical Readathon page. I read Becky Chambers' Monk and Robot series last year and adored it, and I've been dying to read more Becky Chambers, so I actually do plan on buying this book quite soon as well. So when I saw that this was a recommendation, I got very excited and I decided to add it. So yeah, Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. What is it about? Other than the fact that it's sci-fi, I really do not know. What I've heard others say about Becky Chambers' writing is basically that it's very character driven, I think, and it's very much about like vibes and coziness and nice characters is what I gather. We then have Coming of Age. This is another trope I typically struggle with. The book I plan on reading for this one, if I'm able to find it, which I'm not at the moment, but we're gonna have to see. But a recent release actually is Mame by Jessica George. So this was released in January, I think, and it's just a coming of age story about a young woman and something more. I don't know, coming of age is one of the tags on the Goodreads page, so that is why. Final prompt to talk about is the multiple point of view prompt. Now, I'm not certain what counts as multiple, but I'm gonna say more than one. And for this one I picked two options from my shelves. I will either read This Savage Song by Wee Schwab or The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. Just like I'm trying to read all of Fredrik Backman's books, I am also reading all of Wee Schwab's books, and this is the one I have left on my shelf that I have not yet read. When I had a quick flip through it, I saw that we're following two characters, Kate and August, and that they seem to get like alternate chapters or something. So 2 point of views, gonna count it for the multiple POV. The Heart Principle is the third book in the Kiss Potion series, which I adore, and I've been meaning to get to this book for a while. Once again, a shorter and fast-paced read because it's romance, rom-com, entertaining. I've read the other ones in the series fairly quickly, so I would assume it would be a similar case with this one. I also flipped through this book and saw that we're getting alternate chapters from the two main characters. And that's it for my Tropical Readathon TBR. But before we start wrapping this video up, let's talk about some March book releases. I'm trying to keep up with new releases throughout the year, and one way for me to do this is to mention a few books I'm interested in my monthly TBRs, so that I might potentially pick those up throughout the month as well. So I'm just gonna mention a few books real quickly that have caught my eye. I don't really know that much about them. Not that I know much about the other books I've talked about, but yeah, let's just go. On March 2nd already, The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi is being released. This is a fantasy, I think it's adult fantasy, about a pirate, which I love. I think pirate stories are a lot of fun, So I'm very excited about this one actually. On the 7th we have a few books being released. One of them is Clytemnestra. It's a Greek mythology retelling, and that's all I know, but it looks really cool. Another book released on the 7th is A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. This is an adult fantasy romance and it looks like a lot of fun. I think this could just be a good time. A good, fun, romancy, cozy time. On the 14th, we also have a few releases that caught my eye. We have Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Q. Sutanto. She's the author of the DLA for Auntie series, which I adored, so I'm super excited to get a new release from her. From what I understand, this is a contemporary story about an old lady who tries to solve crime. Another book released on the 14th is Paris, a memoir by Paris Hilton. Self-explanatory, a memoir by Paris Hilton. I don't know, it might be fun. I'm getting more into non-fictions and memoirs and stuff, so like if I were to find a copy of this on Scribd once it is released and Paris is the one who narrates it, I would gladly listen to it. A book I've seen 2 release dates for, and I'm not certain if it's being released on the 14th or the 28th, but that is Hello Beautiful, which is an adult contemporary litfic about family. It sounded good from the reviews, okay? And final book I'm gonna mention is The Lies of the Adjungo. This one is being released on the 21st, and it's an adult fantasy novella, so a shorter book, about something called City of Lies. And I'm just like, how cool doesn't that sound? Those are the March releases I wanted to mention. By the way, if you've seen my other TBRs this year, what do you think of me adding these upcoming releases, just like mentioning them? Do you get any value from it, or is it just for me? I would love to hear your opinion on it, but for me I think it's quite fun to just get that as an extra. That's it for this not so structured TBR. I'm super excited about the Tropeical Readathon. I'm super excited about these books as well. I'm gonna say that my priority TBR for the month are these 4 books: Book Eaters, Britt-Marie, Secret History, Wallflower, as well as Turtle Under the Sea, My Body by Emily Ratajkowski, and Obsidio. Those 7 books are on my priority TBR. If I read all of those 7 books, I'm allowed to buy a book. I have a book buying game, that's why I'm mentioning it here. Also for my book buying game, I get to buy a book if I complete a readathon. Now, since there are a total of like 16 books to read for the Tropeical Readathon, I'm not gonna say that I need to read those 16 in order to complete the readathon. I'm gonna put up my own personal goal, which will be to read at least 5 books for the Tropeical Readathon. And at least 3 of those must be the team-specific books and challenges. So if I complete the team challenges and read another 2 books for the Tropeical Readathon, we're golden. Please let me know if you're participating in the Tropeical Readathon and what your team is in that case. And also if you have read any of the books that I just talked about today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed. Please take care and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye!
You gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes.